everyone, and welcome to the Tiny Tales Barnyard Review. My name is Munchie, and I rescue and foster hamsters from homeless situations. I seek to educate and to also place them in suitable, loving homes with correct care. On my journey online, I am here spreading information about bad husbandry, and will be reviewing this bad cage for you today in hopes I can show and encourage people not to have poor husbandry for the animals that are placed in our care. Tiny tail cages are not suitable for hamsters who are foragers, gerbils who are big chewers, and for some sizes of the tiny tails, it is not appropriate for even the smallest of mouse. This is my review and opinion of the Tiny Tales Barnyard Cage and Silo. In this review, I'll be talking about the cost, the functionality, and the cage rank for hamster, gerbil, and mice husbandry. Keep in mind it is marketed to all three of these species, and even includes on the box itself fits most size Syrians. In no way is this just restricted to the smaller hamster species such as the dwarfs and or the roboroskis. And as a reminder, when this video is made, the minimum cage size in the United States for these specific species are hamsters, 450 square inches, with my personal opinion of Syrian hamsters should get 600 plus square inches. A single mouse, 200 square inches. And gerbils should be in pairs, of course, but a minimum of 360 square inches. So let's talk about the pros here, because we probably want to be talking about the cons last. I know you guys want to see the good and positive things about this specific cage, not the specific line in general, because you guys know I completely crap on tiny tails because I am that educator and try to encourage others to do their updated research. But the pros for this cage are, it is easy to find in the stores. Now, the only stores that sell this is of course Petsmart, because they have a partnership, because it is with their line All Living Things. So you can easily walk down an aisle and the first thing you're probably going to see, which used to be KT Critter Trails, is now Tiny Tails, because Tiny Tails actually copied KT Critter Trails and the whole style of that cage, where honestly we don't need that style of this cage anymore. We need something different at this point, like acrylic. Why can't we have acrylic cages? All in favor, say aye. Aye. So the next thing is instructions, and instructions were so easy, even a child could do it. Well, I hope a child could do it, but it was very easy and simple for me. The part that I had trouble with was not in the instructions itself, but the actual construction of the cage, because there were some things that were bent very weird, and of course, because this is plastic, that is why. So it took me a little bit longer to assemble this cage than I had hoped, but that's what comes with the territory of buying tiny, flimsy cages. The bar spacing is of course good, so no hamster, gerbil, or mouse, well, don't put a gerbil in here, but you guys know gerbils will chew through plastic. They should not escape from the bar spacing. Of course, your gerbil will probably chew the side of the plastic and escape that way. However, the bar spacing is okay for those of you who are wondering if it is indeed escape proof, which the bars are okay, it's just everything else might not be as escape proof as intended. So this is not anyway an ideal travel carrier, however, this would be an okay travel carrier if you were going, say, long distance, if you were moving, if you were taking your hamster, gerbil, or mouse, preferably not gerbil, but for short term, gerbil won't chew through a ton of plastic. Just taking them to a vet or just taking them somewhere in general, this will be an okay cage. And of course, this could be attached to a main cage as long as the main cage is at least 4 hamsters, 450 square inches, and any of the other minimum requirements for your small animal. But to me, I just think, why bother adding an attachment? It just takes a lot of work. Plus, you would have to be cleaning a separate attachment to a main cage, whereas the main cage might actually be very spacious, roomy, and easy to clean. There's also free roaming for those of you who want to actually interact with your animal. Free roaming will help you bond a little bit better, and it will help your animal to not be enclosed in something just like their cage. Sometimes they just want freedom. And because this cage does meet the minimum requirement size for a mouse can be suitable in here, especially if they like the tunnels. However, mice like to hide and they have a high prey instinct, so of course they will get scared and more timid and might not use the whole cage and or just reside in one section of the cage. However, this will be okay as well as an attachment to a Minnie Mouse cage, because this does benefit mice. They do like to climb, they do like to burrow, so this could benefit a mouse owner. However, all the mice owners in the Tiny Tales cage reviews that I did prior to this one told me that they wouldn't even stick their mouse in a Tiny Tails cage. So you just gotta do your updated research out there. Now let me tell you about the cons and why you should be concerned, because this is where I just crap all over this cage, but it is for good reason. Poorly made plastic cheap material. Now I thought the KT Critter Trails were garbage. However, KT has stepped up their game and have made harder plastic. This plastic, however, is a downgrade from the KT, and that's probably why it's a lot cheaper than the KT Critter Trails out on the market. But this plastic in the past has been known to break. And unfortunately, in the past reviews I've done, I actually opened up a box with a cracked cage in it. So these things can easily break. They are plastic, they are flimsy, so just keep that in mind. So the next one is the cost, which is very concerning considering that in order to get the correct size, even though it's broken floor space, if you were to get more than one of these and attach them all, it would cost you quite a lot of money. With this cage alone, and just as a single cage, since a lot of people make the mistake of buying just one tiny little cage and not ever putting more attachments to it like it was supposedly intended for this line and the KT line, which it's mocking. This cage is $60.48. So yes, you're paying $60 for a tiny cage, and if you want to include the silo with that, that is $82.47. So woof! Hefty price tag right there. That's almost $100. And back then when I was a child, I thought just finding a $100 bill was like winning the lottery. It is pretty high in price. But of course, I get asked this question all the time. So what if you connect all of the cages from the line? That would be very expensive and costly at around $370 plus. I would definitely not advise that, because you could be purchasing a one-time good deal of a appropriate size cage and still paying less than $100 for it. And of course, this cage is all about the height rather than the horizontal floor space. For hamsters, they really do not need to be up in the sky, so it is sacrificing horizontal space for vertical space, which hamsters do not benefit from, gerbils do not benefit from, unless it has a very deep pan, so you can add multiple layers of bedding for gerbils. And for mice, it can benefit them just because they are climbers and they do like to climb and have layers. And you can attach ledges to this cage if they are small enough. Yes, it does come with ledges itself. However, these ledges have been known to be quite flimsy and or break, so just be aware. Now, the wheel that comes with this cage is unfortunately very small. However, it seems like it's a little bit bigger, if I remember correctly, from the other Tiny Tails cages. I thought those ones were 5 inches. However, this one I measured it at 6 inches. This will be not suitable for a mouse because of their tails, gerbils because they grow quite big, hamsters of any species, that also includes the Roborowski, just because they should have at least, for dwarfs as a starting size, 6.5. However, they do get quite big, so you should upgrade if you notice if there's any curvage of their backs. And of course, Syrians cannot fit this because Syrians need about a 9, 10, 11, or 12 inch, with baby young adolescents being around 8 to 9 inches until they get to their full size. And the tubes don't fit most size Syrians, even though it states on the box it does. It has been proven in the past that some of my really big hamsters cannot fit inside of them, and of course adult size Syrians can't really comfortably fit in them, as well as people don't understand they have to twist their bodies, and even though they can get in and out of tiny situations, it's just so uncomfortable to watch and for probably them to climb down, especially if you're climbing down a very long tube. You got to make sure you rip that tube, otherwise you'll end up seeing your hamster, gerbil, or mouse plummet down to the bottom of the tube, which is very nerve-wracking when it happens, and it does happen. The design of this water bottle is a little bit different, I noticed, from the past ones that I reviewed, so this one's actually pretty decent, but sometimes the water bottle leaks and you just might want to replace it. You're spending more money on things that it comes with the cage, but now you're having to replace them, so you just end up putting more money on top of it, where you could have just gotten a bigger cage and had other items to purchase. Now, the next thing that people are gonna have a problem with is you can't put any big hides or big wheels in here. And like I said, the wheel you're probably gonna wanna be replacing because it does not fit any species of those 3 species I talk about today. So if you have a large Syrian hamster, good luck fitting a 11-inch senior rodent wheel in there. It's not gonna fit. Or it might fit, but you're gonna have to take out the ledges, and or you're gonna take out the water bottle, and or you're gonna take out all of the tube tubing, and so on, so forth. It's just too big of a wheel because it takes up the entire cage. Now for this Tiny Tails cage, it has a bigger entryway, which is great because you can actually reach in with both hands and scoop out your little animal, which is good. However, it's not as big as I would like, but it's okay. So I put it in con because Tiny Tails is known to have tiny entryways. However, there is a small acrylic barnyard door on top of the cage, and that is tiny. And so if your animal is sleeping up there, you will only have to reach in with one hand, and unfortunately, you really should be using both hands when you go to pick up your animal. It does have an issue, but at least the front entryway is large enough, so it's not too bad. However, it is claustrophobic inside, and it will be hard for you to interact with your hamster with tiny little edges, tiny little tunnels, and it will just become a nuisance, and or you're gonna lose interest, especially for kids who get small animals. You're gonna make your kids lose interest because they're not able to tame or interact with a hamster, gerbil, or mouse correctly if they do have this. And of course, the enclosure itself is too small for a hamster, not appropriate for a gerbil, and is an okay, alright, decent cage for a mouse. However, bigger is always better, but you should definitely monitor your mouse to see what your mouse truly needs. Because the mouse community out there has stated different sizes, but a lot of people seem to agree that 200 square inches or like a 10-gallon tank is appropriate for a single mouse. This hamster home is literally titled Hamster Home. It's vague. It doesn't tell you dwarf home, doesn't tell you robo home. So for those people out there that always like to argue with me about the Tiny Tails cage, it's meant for smaller hamsters. If anybody that was unsuspecting walked into a pet store and wanted advice from the employees, and if you went specifically to Petsmart where they are pushing Tiny Tails, although not everybody is, but a lot of people are, the pet parents will not understand that, oh hey, I'm getting myself a Syrian hamster and it's a baby in the pet store. And they go home and they put them in here and they realize, oh, the wheel's too small. Oh, the tunnels are too small. They won't know because the box doesn't specify. It just says hamster. Hamsters, for one, are foragers, and they spend 5 to 10 miles in the wild foraging, protecting their territory, finding a mate, etc, etc. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching my review of the Tiny Tails barnyard cage. I decided this time not to do an unboxing video and to just do my review because a lot of people were confused between an unboxing, which is me working on the cage, and opening it in front of you and giving you my opinions as I struggle, versus a review like this. So if you happen to like this type of review, there's one more Tiny Tails cage coming out, so let me know if you like this or if you like the unboxing. But make sure to comment down below if you do, and like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as would like to promote better understanding and care of our small animals and thought that maybe this review would help that goal. As well as if you are new here and like what you see, why not become a part of our Munchkin family? And just as a final takeaway from this video, I hope that people out there who do happen to have these types of enclosures will think about it and realize that maybe they should upgrade. And I know a lot of the times people say that parents are telling them, no, once we get a cage, that's it. But hopefully with Moxie, I got my kitty here. My kitty. Hi kitty. Hi interrupting cat. But I would highly encourage, if you do and would like to change, just show them updated care. Let them know that you understand the species more so than they do, and that you really would like to get your small animal companion a better life and better enclosure because they need their needs met. Just like how you want to provide for your kids out there, you want to make sure that you can provide for a small animal in your care. This wraps it up. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!